Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. It's now 6:04. The public meeting, the general public meeting of August 3rd for the city of Bel Air Beach is now called to order. Would everybody please rise, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Robinowski.
Here.
Councilmember Mars Bean.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Gaddis.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Councilmember Rita Swope.
Here.
Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn.
Here.
Mayor Joseph Manzo.
Here.
City Manager Len Reeves.
Here.
City Attorney Fred Riley.
Here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. First item of business to approve our agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Marv Beam's making the motion. Second is by
Second.
Jody Shirley seconding. Do we have any discussion on the agenda?
Yes, I need to amend an item into the consent agenda. The communication committee presentation was left off.
Would that be the what was sent to us today, Dave?
That's part of it, but the report is normally read.
Okay, so you're just putting that report that was given to us, and then Patty will make that public?
I don't think anything was mailed out other than there were, there was a draft postcard and a list of priorities. But as far as the actual report from the meeting, that is not the report.
But you don't want it under the consent agenda. You want it on the regular agenda then?
I'm sorry. Yes, regular agenda.
Okay. How about I put it in under number 12B? Would that work?
That will work.
Okay. I'll need a motion on that. Dave, you're making the motion. We have a second? I don't know if I heard a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Jody's seconding it. I'll say discussion on that first. Let's clear that one item to at least get it on the agenda before we vote on it. Does anybody have any comments on that too? So we're adding the as item 12B, the communications committee report that'll be presented. I hear no objections. So let's take that to a vote. This is just to add it to the agenda that we haven't approved yet. So we can, we'll just take, Patty, we have to do that by individual, correct? Can Patty hear me?
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yes, let's do that.
Okay, so if you'll just run through the roll real quickly on that. Before I do that, is there any public comment on that? Okay.
Hold on, I have to switch over to public.
Okay.
No raised hands. Okay.
Okay, good. If you'll just call it then. So the question on this is just to amend the agenda, adding as item 12B, the committee report for the communications.
Councilmember Aki.
Yes.
Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis.
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
Councilmember Swope.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn.
He's muted.
Sorry, that's an aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Yes, that's an aye. So 7-0. That's on for the agenda to be voted upon. Do we have any other changes on the agenda before we call that question? So now we're voting on the amended agenda. It's what was presented by Patty, the 17 items, in addition to item now 12B, which we have added to that. So a vote in favor of this approves that agenda. Before I do it, is there any public comment?
Let me check. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
So this is to approve our agenda as amended. Patty, if you would.
Councilmember Aki.
Aye.
Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis.
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley.
Aye.
Councilmember Swope.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn.
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye. So the agenda is approved 7-0. Next, we go to citizens' comments. I'm not sure who's out there, so if the council knows this already, but if they'll just bear with me. Normally, when we're in session, we have around the room some codes of conduct, which has been approved for how we wish to be to run the meetings. So essentially, in a nutshell, without reading you all 20 items, basically, if you come up to address us, please give us your name, your address, speak to the council as a whole. If you ask us questions, we will not be able to respond to you. It's actually against our rules. So later on in the presentation, when it comes to council comments, we may choose to respond to that. That goes for the city manager too. Sometimes you have a factual question, he's not going to be able to respond to you. So we're not trying to be nasty by saying thank you. We are just saying thank you, and we will try and get to it later on. These comments that we have here are for any item that is not on the agenda. If something is on the agenda, you will be given ample time, 3 minutes, to speak on that at the time when we hit that item. So this is just for something that's not on the agenda, that's within our control, okay? So with that, I will turn it over to Patty. If there's anyone in the public that would like to speak, please have them come up, 3 minutes, and we'll be listening.
There are no raised hands on the attendees.
Okay, thank you. So then I'm going to close public comments. And do we have the sheriff present today, Patty?
I believe they were just here talking to Lynn.
No, Mayor, they're not here.
Okay.
They furnished the report, and the deputy that came in did not have a copy of the report. But I think what I'll do in the future, if we're going to still have more of these, we'll get Captain Liner or somebody to dial in.
Okay.
But there, you know, the report speaks for itself. We only had one larceny in June, and they had a lot of house checks. We had 4 crashes total in the month of June, and 61 citations and warnings were issued by the sheriff. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to send those to the sheriff and get you an answer.
Lynn, Jody Shirley, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a question, just a statement. And Lynn, we do need to have Liner or someone on these calls. You know, I kind of was on that Bel Shores call, and I was taken back that Liner was on their call, and, you know, participating quite a bit in the meeting. It would be nice to have that same participation in our meeting from him.
Okay.
I know we've had several questions for him in the past and haven't been able to ask him. So
I'll pass that on to him.
Lynn, I'm going to second what Jody said. In fact, I've been to 2 of the meetings across the street. Captain Liner not only sits through the police portion, the sheriff's portion, he sits through the whole meeting in case there's anything that comes up. So I think I'd like that same courtesy back. That would be fantastic. The only other thing is I did ask last month that the data for the Bel Air Shore, for what's happening in the beach accesses, the policing, they're providing that across the street. And I asked that we get a copy supplemented to our report. And the deputy, and he's higher than a deputy, he was probably a sergeant, but he said that he was going to work on that, but I didn't see it here. So I would still like that information. I really don't want to have to do public records requests. So I think they could just let us know, because that affects both of us. And that's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay, I'll pass that on to him also.
And also pass on another good month, another good job. I mean, one larceny is not a real big thing. It is if you're the person whose thing was stolen, but overall, very, very good, good work. Dave Gaddis?
Yes, I was just wondering if the sheriff is being emailed the Zoom meeting information, or is it up to them to go to the website and download it?
We will make sure in the future that it's emailed. I'll have Patty do that as a panelist, and then they can assign who. Typically, Captain Liner's not here, but I didn't notice the last 2 months he's been on Bel Air Shores.
Okay. Worst case scenario, I would say just provide them with a telephone and let them dial right in.
Okay.
Any other comments on the sheriff's report? Any public comments, Patty?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Council, if there's nothing else, then I'm going to accept the report and we'll close it. Anything else? Okay, and again, Lynn, if you'll convey the information, we'd appreciate that. We'll move on to item 4. This is a mouthful here. It is a public hearing. This is for the charter, the charter amendments here. I'm going to read the whole thing, then I'll open it up to the council and then the city for comments, and this will be the second reading. So here we go. It's a long one. Consideration of Ordinance 20-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, relating to 5 proposed charter amendments for submission to referendum, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for amendments to Article 2, Section 2.02, Article 2, Section 2.045A, Article 2, Section 2.06, Article 4, Sections 4.02 and 4.03, and Article 9 of the City Charter, providing for 5 ballot titles, providing for city clerk to obtain Spanish language translation, providing for approval by the majority of electors voting in the election scheduled for November 3rd, 2020, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing that upon adoption of this ordinance, the 5 proposed charter amendments shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, voting in the election scheduled for November 3rd, 2020, and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for the city clerk to conform and codify these charter amendments to the charter if approved, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for an effective date or dates of proposed charter amendment or amendments. This is the second and final reading. If we approve it tonight, it will go on the ballot as we have presented it. After all of that, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dave
Second.
Gaddis makes the motion, seconded by Marv Beam. And I'll open it up for discussion, starting with Dave Gaddis.
I yield.
All I'll say is this was the recommendations of our charter amendment committee. I think everybody worked on it. So a lot of people on this committee, on the council, worked on it for several months. City Attorney Riley has put together these the actual verbiage for the election at this point, and I'm fully supporting this. It's what I think it reflects fairly what we asked for. Anyone else?
I just want to say thank you to Fred for all your hard work putting this together. I know there was a few rewrites, but I appreciate your tenacity of getting it done right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll second that, Fred. Good job. I know we changed things around more than a few times as we were going through on committee, and you were able to kind of roll with the punches, and I appreciate it. And I think in the end, we did a good job, and you did a real nice job legally on this. Anyone else on council? City Clerk, I'm going to open it up to the citizens' comments.
There's no raised hands, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll close citizen comments and come back to council. Dave Gaddis gets the last word. Any other council comments? Over to you, Mr. Gaddis.
I think this is a good thing. There's some good changes that were much needed. One of the items that's near and dear to my heart is the term limits. I think it will serve the city well, and I encourage all that are watching and listening to this to vote for this once it reaches the ballot.
Thank you. Now y'all can go out for a cup of coffee because I got to read this all over again. I'm calling the question here. So this is consideration of Ordinance 20-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, relating to 5 proposed charter amendments for submission to referendum, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for amendments to Article 2, Section 2.02, Article 2, Section 2.045A, Article 2, Section 2.06, Article 4, Sections 4.02 and 4.03, and Article 9 of the City Charter, providing for 5 ballot titles, providing for the city clerk to obtain Spanish language translation, providing for approval by the majority of electors voting in the election scheduled for November 3rd, 2020, providing for a notice of an advertisement of the referendum election to be published in accordance with the State of Florida Election Code, providing that upon adoption of this ordinance, the 5 proposed charter amendments shall be submitted to the qualified electors of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, voting in the election scheduled for November 3rd, 2020, and shall become effective as provided by law, providing for the city clerk to conform and codify the charter amendments to the charter if approved, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and providing for an effective date or dates of proposed charter amendment or amendments. This is the second and final reading. A yes vote will get this on the ballot. A no vote keeps it off the ballot. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. City Attorney and City Clerk, you're authorized to move forward with this as is necessary, including getting that Spanish translation. I think the 11th was our deadline, as I recall. It was the 11th or the 17th, something like that, but I know the deadline is shortly coming up. So if we could just be mindful of that and move this thing forward. We've done a great job, everyone. Thanks to everybody here who's on that committee and all the hard work that was put in, and thanks to the members that were on the committee who aren't here. This took a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it's for the best of the city, and thank you very much. Thank you, Dave, and Jody and Fred and Robin and Marv and Glenn. I think you're all on that. And Lynn, thank you for your input onto all of this. And Patty, thanks for the 1,000 rewrites and keeping us straight on this. Really appreciate it. So let's move over to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. I'm going to read them all together and then we'll vote on them in their totality. So on the consent agenda, we have the approval of the July 6th, 2020 City Council minutes, the approval of the July 13th, 2020 City Council Budget Workshop minutes, the approval of the July 20th, 2020 City Council Budget Workshop minutes, and the approval of the July 2020 Special City Council Meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve that consent agenda?
So moved.
Mark Beam makes the motion. Second?
Second.
That's Rita Swope, I believe. Okay, there's no discussion on this. We go straight to a vote. Madam Clerk, would you please take that vote?
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. All 4 of these are now approved. The consent agenda is cleared. We move on to our regular agenda. First item of business is item number 9, consideration of appointment of alternate Park and Recreation member Jean Bizio to board member. And this is the council appointment of the board member. So with that, I will look for a motion. We have a motion? Mark Beam? Yes. Do you have a second?
Second.
Rita Swope. Okay, open for discussion. Mark Beam, you're first.
We need another member on the committee, so I'm glad we have someone that applied.
I have a question for the city clerk. I know Ms. Bizio was on the committee. I believe she was the alternate, and was herself and Tammy Lavenda, who we're going to be considering next, were they the only 2 applicants for the 2 open positions?
Yes, they were.
And we did advertise this, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, I know she was the alternate, so I'll be supporting her. That's I think, you know, I believe in bringing the alternate folks up if we can possibly do that, and it would make sense. Anyone else? Is Ms. Bizio here?
I don't see her by name. There's a couple of phone numbers, but so I don't think so.
Let me open it up to public comment first, but if Ms. Bizio is there, I'd like her to be first to speak in her own behalf, and then anybody else in the public.
No raised hands.
No raised hands. Okay, so then back to council. Any other comments? Councilmember Beam, you have the last word.
Nothing more to say. Thank you.
So before us is consideration of appointment of alternate Park and Recreation board member Jean Bizio to board member. A vote yes will appoint her to the formal board itself. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. City Clerk, would you please extend our congratulations when you speak with Ms. Bizio? She's an official member now, full-time of that board. So that takes care of her appointment. And now on the related issue, we have consideration of appointment on this item 10 of Tammy Lavenda to the Park and Recreation Board. And this is for the other remaining open position. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
That's Mark Beam again. And a second?
Second.
Jody Shirley. Council comments? Ms. Gentry, City Clerk, is Ms. Lavenda here?
Yes, she is here.
Would she like to speak?
Ms. Lavenda, did you want to speak?
I'll just say hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can hear her.
Ian,
Okay.
hello.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions for me, I just want to get more involved in our community, so thought I'd throw my name in the hat.
Any other comments from citizens before we bring it back to council?
No raised hands.
Back to council. Ms. Lavenda, Mayor Manzo, I just wanted to thank you for your interest in the board, and it looks like you're going to win tonight. I can't say what everybody's going to vote on, but I know I'm going to support you, and I wish you the best on the board if you get on here, and thank you for your interest in the community.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the council? Last word goes to you, Marv Beam.
I'd just like to say thank you, Tammy. Appreciate you stepping up. We need people on this board that are going to be active and do things. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? Oh, let me frame the question. This is a consideration of appointment of Tammy Lavenda to the Park and Recreation Board. A yes vote places her on the board, a no vote keeps her off of the board. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so the motion passes 7-0. Tammy Lavenda is now on the Parks and Recreation Board. Congratulations, and thank you from all of us for your interest in the community. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we move on to item number 11. This is consideration of resolution 2020-12, a resolution of the City Council of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2020-21 non-ad valorem assessment roll for the Bellevue Islands Estate Island Assessment Area, directing certification of the assessment roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector and providing an effective date. The description on this is it's the certification of the assessment roll to the PCPAO. The item was placed on the agenda by the city manager, and I want to get a motion first, and then maybe we can defer it over to him for explanation, but the person who makes the motion speaks first if they wish. So with that, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dave
Second.
Gaddis makes it, and second, Mark B. Dave, I'll go to you first.
I'd like to yield to the city manager.
Mr. Reeves?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an annual certification that we have to send to the property appraiser, tax collector, certifying that these are the assessments for the coming year. We did the preliminary assessment to them in June, and the final one is done in September of this year. Current assessments are going to remain the same. When the project is closed out, which will be probably by the end of this year, then we will be adjusting the assessments in the next fiscal year and there'll be some refunds given, but this is just normal business for the assessment roll.
City Manager, you expect that the cost, I know you've had cost savings so far on this, you expect that that's going to hold through this year. We shouldn't have anything that's going to affect that, right?
Right. There's no increase, but what I see, we've got one more piece of the project to finish. That's the section between Bayshore and Gulf Boulevard on 22nd Street. Once that is finished, we'll close out the project, and any remaining funds will be adjusted, will be either paid back to the people that paid in full or paid to the bank to reduce the loan amount, and then the assessments will be reduced.
Okay.
And I anticipate that happening.
I see a hand up, Glenn Gunn.
Yeah, for the city manager, just what's the update on the timeline for the bridge, Sub-Aqueous bore, and the 22nd Street extension?
Well, the Sub-Aqueous bore is done. The 22nd Street, according to Duke, they're trying to get started on that in September. They have asked for their permits. For the right-of-way on 22nd Street, we have approved those. So it's in the design and QC phase with Duke Energy right now.
So you're anticipating the end of September, we're done?
Well, I don't know if it'll be the end of September. I'm saying they told me they were going to start in September.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
And I think that's going to depend on their crews and the hurricane season and a few other things that are going on.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other city council comments or questions?
Lynn, Marv.
Yes.
The question I have, is it possible with all the Duke Energy trying to harden their infrastructure throughout the coastal communities in Florida, will there possibly be any future rebates from Duke or the government?
We got the rebate. We got the 70, I think it was 73,000 rebate. I don't see any other rebates at the current time.
Well, I know the 70,000 was for, you know, the transformer turn back and some wiring credit and whatever.
Right.
But I mean, if anything goes through the state, then we get some money there to possibly reduce the costs that we had out there.
Yeah, at this time, I don't know of anything that the state is proposing. I know there is a hardening theory out there, but I couldn't tell you that they were going to bring any of that to the beach at this point. And they haven't released that to anyone yet.
All right, thank you.
Any other city council comments or questions? Let's open it up to the citizens.
There are no raised hands.
Okay, then I'm gonna come back to the council with I believe it was Dave Gaddis, I think, who made this motion, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Great job. I'm looking forward to seeing this project being wrapped up.
Okay, then let me call this question. It's consideration of resolution 2020-12, resolution of the City Council of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2020-21 through 21 non-ad valorem assessment roll for the Bellevue Islands Estates Island Assessment Area. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area, directing certification of the assessment roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector and providing an effective date. A yes vote will bring that, move that forward and move the roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector through the city manager. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Beam,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. City Manager, would you please move forward with this and bring the roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector, and thank you for your work on this. Item 12 is to, this is 12A, I'm sorry, we made a change here. So item 12A is to authorize the city manager to execute contract for law enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, placed on by the city manager. And this is the renewal of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office annual contract. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, isn't this still 12? I mean, we haven't started 12 yet. The next item would be 12A.
Yeah, no, I said this is 12. I split them. So 12. This is 12A, and yours is 12B. The okay. Communication Committee. Yep, we put 12B the communication. So this is 12A. Yep, and so it's formally item number 12. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mark Beam. Second.
Second.
Second. Okay. Mr. Beam, Councilmember Beam.
Okay, Lynn, the only I like the contract. The only thing I'd like to say, since we've had questions throughout the year of where the officers are or whatever, I don't think we need to know where they're at. But at least if each one of the officers could get a copy of this contract and realize what we'd like to ask them to do and at least sign this so they've read it. The bus patrol, I very seldom see anybody out there. And enforcement of local ordinances such as contractors working after hours and holidays. I think there's a lot of question with some of the new officers that come on board. They don't realize what we're asking them to do. And I think a copy of this given to each one of them would help that situation.
Yeah, I can, I mean, I could provide him one, I guess. I'd want to go through the sheriff to see if he wanted that done, if he's okay with that. I don't see it as a problem. So we'll take that up with the sheriff's office.
All right, thank you, Lynn.
Lynn, I would like to say that, you know, I've been very supportive of the sheriff through the year. I think their professionalism is excellent. I think they do a great job in terms of keeping down our heavy crime. But to what Marv said, and I've actually had citizens now contact me. They want to speak to Sheriff Gualtieri. They're not happy that they don't see the sheriffs. They're not happy that enforcement isn't happening. Same stuff we've been talking about: speeding, easements, you name it. I call it quality of life stuff, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And I said it about the easements, and everything blew up across the street. So my gripe with our sheriff isn't with the professionalism nor with the crime stopping. I think they do a fabulous job in that regard, but it's this quality of life stuff. And if we let it go, our city's going to go with it. So I'm going to vote for this, but there's no alternative. What is our alternative? We're not going to, we're not going to defund the police. Okay. We're not Portland, but you know, I do have an issue with this. Okay. I mean, if there was a choice, if I had three choices, I would be bringing 3 sheriffs in or 3 police chiefs in right now saying, what can you do? And can it be done better? Because I know it can be done better. And this is not going to work if this keeps up. We call ourselves a premier community. Let's step it up. Okay. Thank you. Jody Shirley.
Yeah, does the, when we're talking about patrol, Bel Shores has their own officer. Is that correct? Or do we share? Because
we share.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking is I just happened to be out walking the dog at sunset and was down by the marina, and I watched person after person park at the marina and not pay their parking fee and walk over to the beach. And I thought, I wonder where the sheriff is. I'm certain he's probably out looking at Bel Shores parking situation. So just a kind of observation, and to the point of, I don't know that we can share. I don't know. I mean, I know it's the same stretch of town, but it still seems to be that maybe there's certain hours or certain days of the week that we need to consider that, you know, they need to pay for their sheriff, we need to pay for ours. I mean, do they contract with the sheriff's department, Lynn?
Yes, and we receive, our contract originally was $538,000, and we get a credit back of $35,000 for the work that they do in Bel Shore, which mainly is their 3 beach easements. You know, that's really all the sheriff does for them, other than if there's a felony or a break-in or something like that.
I don't know. They talk a lot about people trespassing on their properties and whatnot. So I don't know that that's necessarily true, that that's all they do. I think they're policing the residents of Bel Shores too. And I think that they're getting a heck of a deal, and we're sacrificing because of it.
Well, I can have some further discussion with the sheriff, you know, about that patrol issue. I have asked them, because I've questioned a couple times about this patrolling, and I had some conversations with it isn't Captain Liner, it's a new captain, Nick Lasaris, that's in charge of the patrol. And he did discuss with me some GPS tracking of officers. And I think what we've got to do is be a little more, this directed patrol stuff, when we keep directed, I think we've got to look at that a little closer and maybe not have so many directed patrols, because they're trying to do this, they're trying to do house checks, they're trying to do directed patrols on the beach at this time and that time. And I think what it does, it takes away from some of the actual, what they should be doing for us is the residents seeing them on the streets.
Yeah, I rarely see them on the street. I'm sorry, Glenn, let me just make one more point. I rarely see them on the street. And I notice, like, you know, I leave my house around very early in the morning, and, you know, typically it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I never see a police officer. I see plenty of them down near Indian Rocks Beach, but nothing at our end of town, which again leads me to, where is our officer? I used to see him on Golf Boulevard. I don't anymore. So if we can check it out and report back something.
Yes.
I had hands up, so I have Glenn Gunn, then I have Dave Gaddis. Robin was next. Yeah, so it's Glenn Gunn, Robin Aki, and Dave Gaddis. That's the order so far. Glenn Gunn.
Yeah, I would say that we're being kind of coy with, we're talking about the amount that Bel Air Shore gives us a credit for the sheriff, but when you compute what that's worth, as I understand it, talking to Lynn Reeves on the side regarding this issue, they're paying for 45 minutes of sheriff time per shift. Is that correct?
Yep, that's what I calculate. Well, it might be 46 or 47 with the new contract.
Okay,
that was last year.
But my point is, by the time you figure out how much time it takes to unlock those gates and open up the beach accesses, 10 to 15 minutes per, I mean, you've already gone through their 45 minutes per shift. So when a deputy parks in the beach access and is running up and down the beach looking for somebody who owns a car without a sticker in the parking lot, or is chasing down somebody with an umbrella, I'm not sure we have an accurate man-hour audit or accounting for the cost that that officer is devoting to Bel Air Shore issues. That's basically coming out of Bel Air Beach's finances. So I'm thinking it may be time to update a man-hour audit for how much time is actually being devoted to checking locked doors and property and windows for those residents who are not at their residence in Bel Air Shores and maybe on holiday or at their other home. And also, I guess there's two ends of the spectrum on this directed patrol thing. I mean, we're hearing people, well, where are these sheriffs during their patrol? We're not quite sure what they're doing. Well, we get pushback from the sheriff's office because they like to come on duty and have the widest latitude possible for how to spend their patrol and optimize their personal discretion on that. And I'm thinking perhaps we need to be a little more prescriptive in those things we want them to do, where we want them to be, what we actually want them to do. I just have a tendency to lean towards the other end of the spectrum on this thing. The last question I have is the contract amenable during the year, and how difficult that is? I had asked Lynn Reeves to kind of put out some feelers with the other municipalities in his network to see if our increases in this contract are apples to apples or apples to oranges, or if everybody seems to be getting a equitable increase in this, and what those increases are going for. So that's it. Is the contract amenable, or are we getting an equitable increase in this, just like all the other municipalities? That's all I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Aki.
I agree with Glenn and Jody. I mean, especially now with this new umbrella ordinance, And it seems like the Bel Air Shores residents are going to be expecting the sheriffs to enforce it. So that means more time on the beach, more time talking to citizens about taking down umbrellas. And we want more time, monitoring the easements to not let non-residents in and the stickers. And we want more going on, which I agree with. However, if they're only paying pennies for that, how is that fair? So maybe it's not an issue with the sheriff, it's an issue with Bel Air Shore, but I think it's time to get back to them and whatever. I don't know if it's a contract we have with them that they owe us 30, whatever it is, or if it's time to say, hey, you want more ordinances monitored and enforced, well, then you better pay up for that extra time. Because those ordinances are negatively affecting our residents. Why should we be paying to be negatively affected when they want that more policing? They need to be paying for it. So, I agree with Jody and Glenn that, and like Jody says, they're getting a sweet deal. They're getting the benefits of the sheriff for pennies, and that's not fair. That's got to stop. And I'm starting to think with Bel Air Shores, we seem to be treating them with kid gloves, and that's obviously not working. So I think it's time to start putting our fist down a little bit and start demanding, just not more, just equal and what's right and what's fair. And that's it. I'm done.
Thank you. David Gaddis.
I see it a little bit differently at the beginning of the COVID thing. Whenever that started happening, I noticed that all police cars disappeared. They were all given mandates that they had to go and monitor buildings that were not following the rules. I think since then, the rules have been relaxed and everyone knows what to do, and businesses know they'll be shut down if they're not following the rules. So those resources should have come back to us. But I've noticed that going in both directions over the bridge, rush hour in the morning to work, rush hour in the evening from work, I don't see the sheriff patrolling the bridge at all on either side. So my question is where are the resources in general? I'm not absolutely sure that we're getting cheated. I'm just wondering if they're here so little that that's all we notice anymore. And I would like to know why they're not patrolling the bridge, because they're certainly not. We used to see them over there at Bonefish and the other strip mall over there, and I never see them in either parking lot anymore. So I do see them occasionally in ours, but that's generally they're parked in the back and not out front. Definitely something has changed, and I'd like to see it change back, especially with the rate increase that we received recently.
Any other comments on council?
Well, I guess so what's the next step? We have all these comments, but what's the plan?
Let me ask you this, Mr. Reeves. What I'm hearing is a lot of negativity, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. These are valid points that every council member has made, points that should have been made a while ago, and so are my points. And I've got a citizen committee that is asking me, okay, as a private citizen who just happens to be the mayor, to arrange a meeting with Sheriff Gualtieri, because they're fed up. If it was up to some of these citizens, they would vote no on this. The problem is if we vote no, we cut our own throats because we have no police protection. So we're not proving anything by doing that. But voting no or voting yes and being unhappy, it doesn't sit well with me. So when and how much latitude do we have on this? Because it sounds to me like we need Captain Liner in here to answer every one of these questions that was just asked tonight, and probably more, because the citizens have questions too. I was approached by 2 citizens, and I know there's a third that want to meet with me and ultimately meet with the sheriff. They've had it, and it's just ongoing. We're like a broken record for those of you who remember records. So what's our latitude on this? Can we push this a month or push it a couple of weeks?
If you want to table it tonight, we can push it till the September meeting, because it's effective October 1st. That's up to the council. I can see if we can get a meeting with the sheriff, and maybe at the work session, I'll ask if the council's fine with that, the work session on the 17th. I'll ask for the sheriff, but I'll also ask for Captain Liner to come and answer those questions. And
that would be great if you could do that, and then I can have those citizens that have approached me say, "Hey, Sheriff Gaultier is going to be here. Captain Liner is going to be here." I mean, I know he's sent the top brass before when we had some issues and concerns. So again, their receptiveness and their professionalism is unquestioned. They're great. These guys are and ladies are true professionals. But these all those questions that were just asked need to be answered. At least in my mind, I can't make the motion, but to Councilwoman Aki, that's what can happen. Dave, I just saw your hand go up.
The only comment that I think I think a suggestion that might be helpful would be if each patrolling officer maintained a log of what he's doing.
Well, they do.
They have that, but we don't.
Right. Yeah, they have a log for their directed patrols, and as an example, if they're doing the beach or they're patrolling the city, they do log that, and they have a GPS system. I will tell you, when I asked for the GPS stuff previously, I was told, no, that's not something we would give to a city. So we could ask that again, but I did ask for that previously. Actually, Councilmember Beam asked me to ask them that and was told no.
And what about Bel Air Shore, like that 30, whatever it is? I mean, how is that decided? How's that figured out? Has that been decided like 10 years ago and it's never been increased?
No, it's a formula the sheriff uses based on, and the as Vice Mayor said, I kind of calculated that because we keep talking about, we want the beach accesses patrolled and things of that nature. Well, the 3 beach accesses aren't the city of Bel Air beaches. They're the town of Bel Air shores. And so the sheriff takes that to some degree, that we're telling them to do directed patrols on them too. And Bel Air Shore is telling them to do a directed patrol. So in essence, they may do more patrols there, but realistically, that's not for us to tell them. And that's what I was kind of trying to explain about if you go back to the sheriff's report and you look at in section 3 and you look at the third page of that report, you'll notice that they do a lot. They're doing like 10 directed patrols a day for us. And that's what I was kind of talking about. I think a lot of times the directed patrols, except for our parking lots and beach areas, we need to separate them from the town of Bel Air Shore. And they do a lot of house checks. I mean, they're doing, if on the average, about 10 a day. It may be a night shift, or that's a lot of house checks. They're stopping. That's taken, I'm guessing, just based on what I've seen with the house checks, the deputy pulls up, he gets out, he walks around the house. By the time he gets back in the car and logs the house check in, what have we spent? 10, 15 minutes? Yeah.
The size.
Yeah. And that's spending a lot of time on, and I'm not saying do away with it. I'm just trying to explain that, we're spending a lot of time on stuff that really isn't getting a bang for the buck, I guess is what I'm telling you.
But I mean, I don't want to stop those either, but if they do one of those house checks for a Bel Air Shore mansion, that's going to take 30 minutes just to walk around one of those.
Yeah, so, and I don't know how many they do there.
But regardless, it seems like we're paying for a lot of Bel Air Shores sheriff benefits. And I think that needs to be stopped. And maybe we need to talk to them about their formula, that it needs to be adjusted. And maybe we can do that prior to the
Yeah.
next contract. Because I don't want to wait a year. And especially now with these ordinances that are out of control, they're going to want more sheriff presence, that they need to pay for it.
Right.
Councilwoman Shirley?
Yeah, just a couple of points is the $35,000 that Bel Air Shores pays is less than what we pay for our code enforcement. So just to kind of put it in perspective, I think we're paying them $50,000 for code enforcement. So that kind of puts it in perspective. And to Lynn's point, there's so many things on here. I think we just all need to go through this, but I'm like looking at the sheriff's verifying garage sale permits. I don't think that's their job. I mean, I think that's something we can do in-house. Making the city's bank deposits. I'm not sure why the sheriff does that. You know, I'm just looking at some of these things that they're posting notices in the park. I mean, it seems like staff should be doing those sorts of things. So if these are what we're calling directed patrols, I understand why they're busy. They're doing work that we should have staff doing, and we're paying a premium for it. So I would suggest that we table this and move it to the work session where we can get the sheriff and lieutenant or whoever it is that would be who we should talk to about some of these things, these items, and maybe tell them they need to sharpen their pencil a little bit. They really need to identify how much of their time is spent in Bel Air Shores versus Bel Air Beach. And I have to believe it's more than what we pay for our code enforcement. I mean, I can't imagine that they can patrol that beach and not spend at least what we're paying on code enforcement, which is $50,000. So I think we table this and move it to the work session and try to vote on it the next meeting.
Jody Shirley, is that a formal motion to table?
That would be my formal motion. Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Robin Aki. Discussion on tabling this motion. I wholly agree. I hope we vote for it. Anybody else on it?
I'm good with this. I think it would be good also if we move it to a discussion that we actually invite the sheriff or representative of the sheriff to come and sit down with us, and let's talk about what, face to face, what we're missing.
And I'm going to ask Lynn Reeves, Patty Gentry, if you could make sure the citizens know that this is their opportunity to respectfully address our police force, good and bad. I mean, listen, I'm the first one to say they're doing a great job with crime control, but these are all issues that need to be dealt with, and let's deal with it. And they can send whomever they feel is necessary, but I think we should table it at this point in time. So we'll need a majority vote on that, but I do have to go open to the citizens before we do that. If we have any other council comments, this is on to table. No other comments? Then Patty Gentry, is there any citizens just on talking about the motion to table?
There's no raised hands, no.
Okay, so we're back to council with the last word on the motion to table being Glenn Gunn, and then Jody Shirley has last word. Glenn?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm all for tabling it. I think we need to do a little homework on this thing. When I did a quick calculation, I'd sat down with Lynn Reeves, and when you divide the 7 by 24 by 365 days a year, I mean, you're paying $57 an hour, I think is what it worked out to. And when you think about the amount of training, the overhead, the admin costs, the dispatcher, all the paperwork and all that stuff, it's probably a reasonable cost. But I do have some doubts about Bel Air Shore. When you look at our costs, drivers in this city, law enforcement is invariably one of the top 3 or 4 line items there. And I would be interested in where law enforcement is in the budget of Bel Air Shore. And I have to plead ignorance in that. I'm not quite sure what their budget is, but I would just be interested in how that all levels out. I'm all for tabling this thing and doing some more homework.
Vice Mayor, I can give you an approximate answer because I sat through their budget meeting last time, and they're spent about $35,000 with us, and I think their overall budget for the year is about $135,000. So probably about 20-25%, maybe about 25-30% of the budget.
Yeah, their budget amount is, the sheriff's contract is 35,088. That's what it is for the year.
Any other council comments before I take that to vote? Jody Shirley, you have last word.
No further comments.
Okay, so the question before us now is a motion to table item 12A, which is the authorization of the city manager to go forward with this contract. If you vote to table it, we're going to move this to the work session, which is scheduled, I think, for the 17th, coming up August 17th. And Lynn Reeves is going to attempt to get the high as a brass he can get in the sheriff's office to come out and discuss this with us. And we're going to publicize this with the citizens because I want them to be able to speak also. So a vote yes tables it, a vote no, and we will move to approving this contract or not approving the contract tonight. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye, so it passes 7-0. This is tabled. Lynn Reeves, you'll please proceed, and Patty Gentry, please proceed to notify our citizens. I would love to hear from people on that night. I would like to see the sheriff come in. You know, Lynn, if they can listen to what everybody just raised, I think those are the questions. We've been hearing these for a while. I guess there's some new stuff and new concerns with these, you know, with Bel Air Shore. And so let's see if maybe they can come prepared with some answers, and let's hear it.
Okay, not
Thank
a
you,
problem. And then we'll put the contract back on the agenda at the September 9th meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so the next item then up is what we had made the change to make item 12B, which is the Communications Advisory Committee report. David Gaddis, you're going to do that for us?
No, Leslie Nataro is.
Okay, so is she here, Patty?
Yes, she is.
Okay, then we don't need a motion on this. It's a report, so I'll turn the floor over to Leslie Nataro.
1 second. Okay, there we go. Chair Notaro.
I just didn't unmute. Did it unmute it?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, all right. You folks should have gotten in your emails today a couple of documents, several versions of them. One of them being the communications strategy, a spreadsheet, which goes through, you know, what we need to communicate, what kind of priorities they are, how often we do it, and how we do it. This has gone through several changes at our committee meetings. So we got, you know, safety issues down to long-term plans, you know, some on a regular basis, some on an as-needed basis. Couple things on the safety issues. Alert Pinellas, I think we need to push that, put that on our website so that people know that they can sign up to that, and something that the county does that gives you information. I don't know if all you guys are on it or not, but you get information about storms coming through and infrastructure issues and such. Dave can talk about the auto call, auto text system, which he demonstrated us called Quick Send, Click Send, something like that, where you can have a message and broadcast it out to people's cell phones. It was a very interesting system. I have an issue which I've raised with our committee about communicating via Facebook. And I'm not sure that there aren't you know, sunshine law issues, record retention issues. Does the city have to, if the city develops its own website, how do we maintain, do we have to have a full-time Facebook manager to maintain all those records for city, you know, the state rules about what you have to go through? And I talked briefly with Fred about that, and I think there may be some issues doing a Facebook page. I think the fact that we've got our own website could be a much less dangerous way to maintain things online. You also should have gotten a copy of a community response requested. It was started out as a postcard. It's now looking like more of a letter that we would send out to everybody we got our property tax rolls, send it out to all the residents and say, hey, this is how I would like to be contacted. We changed sort of from a postcard to a letter or something they could do on the website, because some people thought people wouldn't want to send a postcard in the mail with their address and phone number and email address and all that stuff. But this would give them the way we could develop a list of these people want websites, these people want phone calls, these people want like hard copy mails and so on. So that's something that we would look to send out to all of the residents within the city. We've scheduled our next meeting for August 13th at 6 o'clock to kind of pull all this together, come up with, how do we measure the success of these communications with the citizens to the city and city to the citizens. That's what we've done. I don't know if Dave's got a demo. We tried his quick send, or was it quick send or click send, David?
Click send.
Click send. It was a very interesting way to get out messages to a group of individuals very easily. We're concerned obviously about, we don't have a staff of thousands at City Hall to be just, have somebody be the communications director. We have to keep that in mind. And this seemed to be a reasonably efficient, cost-effective way to do it. So that's what the Communications Committee has been up to. Now, Dave, you got?
Oh, sure, I'll take it from here. Basically, I introduced a service. We were talking about the various ways that you could communicate with an individual in our city. And of course, there's the normal methods, which are the website or possibly email or snail mail. But one of the items that's been missing is by phone. Most people monitor their phones and rarely even get away from their phones. If they're not in their hands, they're in their pocket, especially when they're driving, right? So I searched around, and originally I found services that were roughly around $100 a month. And I thought, that's too much. I can do better. So I kept looking, and I found a service that offered messaging at a flat rate. And basically you can construct any message that you'd like. You have a pre-built send list. You decide whether it's a voice call or whether you'd like to send a text message. And in either case, you're looking at less than 2 cents a message per person. So it's very affordable. The service gave me $3 to play with, and I think I sent about 25 messages and still have like, I don't know, maybe a $1.25 or something like that. But I demonstrated it at first with the city manager and the city clerk, and also Kyle. And once I verified that it worked for them, then I went back and I demonstrated it for the communication committee, and it was relatively fast. So although the city of Bel Air Beach should not be the go-to person for catastrophic events such as hurricanes and things like that, whenever we already have Alert Pinellas in place, it can certainly be used to notify people of the certain items that they'd like to receive on their phone, rather than having to stop what they're doing and log into a website or go to Facebook. Also, extensive records are kept. Whenever you send these messages, you get a very detailed log of what numbers they went to, if a name is attached to it, what the person's name is, and whether it actually went through or if it failed. But it all happens very, very quick. I tested it with our workforce on my job, and I was able to send message to 85 recipients, and every one of them got it within 1 minute. So it seems like one way to go. It may not be the only service out there, but this one seems to work, and it's they're not requiring you to pay a whole bunch of money or a monthly fee up front to get on their service. So if that's something that this council decides that they'd like to look into, I'll be more than happy to do a demonstration.
David?
Yes.
One of the things I think you said, it would require a dedicated phone line. Correct?
Well, okay, so let me explain that. Basically, right now, I'm using their shared number. So what that means is you're going to get a phone number that you're not sure who it is. You'll obviously get the text message, but let's say that you elected to receive a voice message. It's the same thing. A computer basically converts text to voice or to speech, and then will call you. It's like robocalling. In that case, you may very well block it because you don't know who's calling you. With a dedicated number, we could actually post, this is if you receive a phone call or a text message from this number, it's the city of Bel Air Beach. And that way you could whitelist it in your phone, and you would always get the message if you decided to subscribe to that. The cost for a dedicated phone number per month is, I think it's like $3, something like that, to have the same number every time that you received a message from the city. Glenn?
Some great ideas here. The timing is, fortuitous right now. We're going through the budget thing, and I don't recall, is there something in our budget so that we have some provisions to take some of these ideas and put some money behind it so you can have a trial period and try some things? One of the things I talked to about with the city manager was we've got this huge pile of reserve money set aside, and it was originally labeled hurricane, and we have since rebranded it as disaster or emergency funds. And as we go through our budget, city manager and I have kind of looked at some stuff, and we maintain reserves for some things that we would fix on condition. For instance, if a light burns out or gets knocked down on the bridge, we take money out of these reserve funds to fix that light. And maybe we need to expand our thinking on the utilization of these emergency or hurricane funds so that we don't have to have these little separate rice bowls of reserve funds for things that happen on condition or some unplanned event where it wasn't forecasted or expected, and yet we've got to cough up the money to fix something or replace it, bridge repairs, something like that. Obviously, we can reschedule the money and reprogram the money down the line to backfill this emergency fund. But some of these communications things, if it's addressing emergency actions or disaster preparedness or something like that, can be short-term funded out of our emergency or disaster reserves and not maintain a ongoing fund for communications. But I just think maybe we should put some money aside to give the communications ad hoc committee some latitude to try out some of these things and see if you get some value for what you're proposing, that sort of thing. So I'm just throwing that out there. Thanks.
Any other council comments?
Yeah, I would like to make a few comments. This is Councilmember Swope. I want to thank Councilmember Gaddis and Mayor Natoro for all the work you are doing, and as well as your team on this. The information I received today, I was very impressed with. I'm very impressed with this automatic call, Quicks, whatever you called it, Councilmember Gaddis. But I think we're moving in the right direction on communicating with our citizens as well as them communicating with us. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm extremely impressed with all the work as well as the reporting and the status reports that you're providing for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Jody, Shirley, and Marv Beam.
Yeah, just quickly, great work, you guys. I think it's good. Sounds like a lot of thought went into it. And Dave, thanks for your expertise on the texting information. And just a quick back to what Glenn suggested. I'm looking at, some information I have from the Finance Committee, and we have a reserve fund balance of 2.3 million. And our mandatory reserve is 540,000. So I think there's a little money there that we could push your way and have available as needed for communication. I mean, clearly we don't need that much money. And I don't know that, it needs to be a separate line item, but clearly there's some latitude to provide funds as necessary. That's it.
Councilmember Beam.
Yes, in regards to the mail out card or letter, once we determine what we can do, and that's on the list, I think it's a good idea that everybody then will be on record for either accepting what we come up with or not. Then there won't be any argument going into the future. Good job, Dave and Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Was there any questions from the public on this, City Clerk?
No raised hands.
Okay. Council, do we have any other comments? I thank everybody for their hard work on this. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. That'll conclude item 12A. And now we get into the standard part of our agenda, which is unfinished business, item 13. Do we have any unfinished business? Marv Beam.
Questions for Lynn. Lynn, the pathways north and south that we were going to take care of and put shell down, and again, there were some encroachments on different properties that were going to be taken care of. What's the status on that one?
Well, we've got to have a further discussion with the council on going forward if you want to make it a project. The encroachments, I think we can go ahead and do. There's only a couple small ones, but the council, that's kind of been put on the back burner, but we need to have a discussion maybe at a work session to say, okay, do we want to expend the funds to do this project?
All right, could we put that on the next work session for discussion?
Yeah. It's getting bigger.
It's okay. This can has been kicked down the road so many times the can's fallen apart. So yeah, it's time to address this. Yeah. Robin Aki.
Another can I think we finally need to put some time and effort into addressing is the marina. We keep talking about ideas about the finances and charging and rent. And I think we finally need to either do something about it or decide we're not going to do anything officially and let that be our stance. But that can's been kicked down. So we need to talk about that the next work session. If we can also add that on, Lynn, please. I'd appreciate it.
It's already there. Or it was planned to be there.
Awesome. Good. Then let's do it.
Marv, I'll come back to you, but does anybody else have anything first? We're going around first round. Anybody else on first round? Then Marv, second round.
All right, there's two things. The waterside codes, seawall issue, coming up with codes or at least talking about them.
We've got, we've kind of redrafted the let me tell you what city it was that we had. Marco Island manual. And what I want to do is send that out to an engineer and see if he, if there's anything we missed and we'll probably do that to Rube Clarkson. And then we're going to just have to determine what code from that manual, because realistically, in doing research, there's not a lot of cities that have any code specifically for seawalls and the inspection process.
Well, you know, again, like I stated, these seawalls are 60, 70 years old, and there never was any requirement to have them inspected. So mainly right now, it's a break and then fix type
Right.
deal. So, I mean, the obvious was kind of put together in that Marco Island information I gave to you, and it's the basics. If the cap is cracked, if you have soil falling in by the seawall, that's number 2, and a low tide inspection if the separations between the slabs show that they're eroded away. That would be the 3 basic, I would just say, flags that would go up for a required inspection. I mean, that would be the common sense one. That's what I feel. I mean, those, and there's a lot of them in the city that are in that condition. And the last thing I want to talk about is the line of sight. Backing out of driveways, you've got some people that have run 6-foot bushes all the way to the street, and you can't see if a kid on a bicycle is coming down the road when you're backing out of your driveway. And the thing that's bothering me is the corner of Causeway and Gulf Boulevard, that house on the corner on the south side, on the eastern corner. If you try to look at traffic coming northbound on Gulf Boulevard, you can't see it unless they're at the light. If you stay at the stop sign line that's in the roadway, you have to pull into the walkway to see traffic coming down. So sometimes you interfere with pedestrians trying to cross. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Gaddis was next, and then Glenn Gunn after that.
Yes, I also agree that there are some issues with our seawalls, but I think before the seawalls are addressed, I would like to see the docks addressed, mainly because they're an immediate hazard. There's floating debris in the water with every storm, nearly every tide change. It's ridiculous, and it gets caught up under people's docks. If you remove it, it weighs 1 million tons, and it's nearly impossible to get it out of the water. All of this could be stopped if people were written a citation with dilapidated docks that were in the water. Also, staying in the water area, I noticed that there's a buoy that's way, way, way out. It's in front of Steve Marsh's house, that direction. There's no way it should be that far out. And then also I wanted to ask Glenn about the sailboat that we have moored now. It's anchored out. I'm trying to think of the best place. Basically, if you're looking at the Causeway Bridge from 22nd Street, well, you can't miss it. It's a small sailboat, but you know, we all dread seeing those things show up. If one shows up, we're going to have plenty of them before you know it, because they're going to think it's an anchor, leave your boat friendly neighborhood, and we don't want that. So that's about all I had to say about the water and the docks and seawalls.
Thank you. Glenn Gunn?
I think some of this goes to the gap in the code review. I mean, we've been discussing the idea of having that follow-on code review, and some of the things with the seawalls and the docks and things like that are some of the gaps that we need to plug with the next code review. Do we have some kind of timeline for when we're going to spool up that next code review? And again, probably the charter we give those people will say, hey, we need some specific guidance and direction on seawalls, dock ordinances, that sort of thing. So just a timeline from the city manager or the council when we'll be looking at the next code review. Thanks.
Yeah, when we talked about that previously, I recommended waiting till the fall, get through the budget, and then spool that up in the fall.
I'm going to suggest that we start farming right now for people who want to be on it. Let's get that word out. Jody's nodding her head. These things take time. It is the middle of summer. Let's get this going. Again, these are all things we've talked about, and these are all great things. Let's get them going, folks. We can work on two things at once. So I agree with Glenn Gunn. Jody Shirley looks like she's agreeing with me. We're all agreeing. Let's get that word out that it's coming. Okay. I don't see this council voting against that. So we're going to give that charter and charge out to them. I have some issues. We've had some stuff recently, obviously, with sign ordinances and things like this. So yeah, let's get them charged up and get them working on this. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that. The cell phones alerts going off.
No problem. Okay. Anybody else on council? Okay. Unfinished business is up for us. So I will move it then to, we'll close out unfinished business and then move over to city attorney. Fred Riley, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Okay. Then I move to item, does anybody have anything for the city attorney? Okay, then we move to item 15, city manager. Lynn?
Yes, the changes we discussed at the last budget meeting, I sent you new pages out last week, so you just need to insert those. The stormwater fee is progressing. Our first millage rate hearing will be at our first council meeting in September, which is September 9th. Right now on the work session, I had the marina. I've added the sheriff. We'll talk about the paths, and I will send this document for the seawalls out to the seawall engineer for him to review. You got a copy of the code enforcement report for the month of July. Also, we finally got our final payment for Hurricane Irma, the management portion. We got that in last week, $5,600. So it was a process, but we got it back. So that's good. We didn't expend anything, but that's a bonus for the city. And we'll start on the code committee advertising for that. And I think that's everything I have at this point. Oh, yeah, I did talk about the marina. Mr. Lusk is going to provide some information that he did some research on for the marina at the work session also. So he'll be making a presentation. As it stands now, based on the what the governor's last mandate was, he said that he extended the virtual meetings till September 1st. But in that same mandate, he said the budget hearings are extended till October 15th, which is kind of contradictory since we do our budget and millage rate at our council meeting. And I did talk to the property appraiser tax collector about that. And they basically gave me the direction, just go ahead, because he did authorize the millage rate meeting to be virtual. So as it stands right now, we'll just continue virtual into September. And I presume the governor will just extend it another month sometime. He waited very late. I mean, we had already sent the agenda out and he told us the update. It was like 8 o'clock on Thursday night. So, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Lynn Reeves?
I have one.
Robin and then
I've
Mark.
had a lot of citizens with this whole umbrella thing. There's so much confusion as far as mean water line. Can they do the wet sand, dry sand, no sand, never, anywhere? I mean, there's so much confusion. There needs to be a consensus, like this is what's allowed, this is what's not. And I don't know if we need to put it on the website or post it somewhere where we could say the rules are listed here. That way there's no, well, he said this, she said that, I had my umbrella here and the sheriff said this. There needs to be something concise and that everybody has the same information, because it's so confusing right now.
Well, just to give you a little information, which you probably don't know anything about, I met with some residents last Wednesday, for about a little over an hour. It was, let's see, I think there was 8 or 9. And we kind of went through that process. I have talked to one of Bel Shore's commissioners, and I have a call into the mayor. I don't know that he's back in town yet, but I will be talking to him before their next meeting. And I'm still working on trying to get them to do some relief for the umbrellas at least. But to clarify, and it'll be up to the city council, every city has a jurisdictional line, and I've explained that to a few people, but every city has a jurisdictional line. Fred and I have talked about it, and Bel Air Shore's jurisdictional lines, ours happens to be almost 10 miles out into the Gulf, and I'm sure theirs is probably in a similar fashion. We'd have to get a survey or something to tell you exactly where, but what those jurisdictional lines, anything they pass means that they can enforce them. And you know, this discussion about wet sand, dry sand, high mean water mark, erosion control line, all of that stuff is still in their jurisdictional boundary. So, and I know that there's some concern, and I also, based on what the residents told me and what the sheriff has told me, they aren't enforcing it right now, and there haven't been any complaints from Bel Air Shore. So, I mean, I think those are things that are positive. And I suggested to the one commissioner I spoke to, you know, if we're going to get into semantics, then, you know, maybe the beach accesses themselves, the boundaries of those are the potential places. And if you go to the right or left and you get on somebody's private property, then it's the private property owner's issue, not ours.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Gunn, sorry.
I'm in complete agreement with Robin here. Everything that's out there is misinformation, urban legend, innuendo, sidebar discussion, whatever. There isn't any one consolidated place for what is actually going on and what the latest information is. There's nobody out there speaking with any authority or any engagement with the city. We need to show that the city is engaged on this issue. Right now, because there's a lack of a consolidated authority reference on this thing, our residents believe that the city is not engaged on this issue. And that's not correct. I mean, the people in this video right now, Lynn Reeves is engaged with the city of Bel Air Shores. I know people here have kind of a good idea of how this stuff works, but the information is not getting out there. So you got people, hey, what's this mean high tide line? Well, they can't enforce it because the Florida Constitution says this. What's this jurisdictional stuff? How far does it, what's this 3 league stuff? I mean, we need to show that we're engaged on this thing. And whether or not we need to put out a flyer, maybe we need to put a letter out to the residents, maybe we need to have the city manager's corner of the website to say, hey, you know, I'm hearing this, that's not true, this is the actual status of this thing. But we need to take a leadership position in rolling this thing for our residents. And that's all I can say on that.
I just want to throw something in, then I'm come back to Jody and then over to Fred Riley. So it's Jody next after me and then Fred. I don't know why the confusion. The ordinance couldn't be any clearer. No shade coverings anywhere within the city limits. Takes you into the water. That's it. They're not allowed. Okay. I want to thank Jody Shirley, Glenn Gunn, Lynn Reeves, and I want to thank myself. We were the 4 people who went and spoke at Bel Air Shores Town Council meeting to try and get them to reconsider this. That was based on a person-to-person discussion that I had with Mayor Schmidt. It wasn't mayor to mayor, it was person to person. And he said he had to run it by his council. And anybody who heard that tape, it no sooner got out of Mayor Schmidt's mouth about trying to postpone this than it was immediately shot down. There was no consideration. Jody Shirley went through every one of our suggestions to them, tow-away zones and card control. They didn't even say, yeah, like, wow, great idea. They said nothing. So you may not know this. I received it. I haven't been around to give this back because I was away, but I will be forwarding to Patty Gentry tomorrow a letter I received. There's 2 citizens that have moved forward with a notice of lawsuit. They are going to sue the city of Bel Air Shore to invalidate this ordinance. And they also are going to seek to have them removed as trustees under the deeds. And this is the last word I'm ever going to say on this. Okay, I've held off till tonight to do this. I've went through ethics clearance all the way up to Tallahassee. I'm not joining them. I'm going to preserve my own rights with a lawsuit. I will not stand for this. I bought my property here to be within walking distance of the beach. This has been taken away from me without compensation. I will not stand for it. I'm not joining their suit. I am bringing them my own on behalf of myself and myself only, not as mayor, as Joseph Manzo property owner. Because of that and because of what I've just told you, I now can no longer participate in these discussions. They will have my letter tomorrow. And I'm moving forward with this. Enough is enough. We've talked about this enough. Everybody in this city has tried. They don't want to hear it. So they'll hear it from me, and we'll let the judge decide how we're going to work this thing out, because I see no other way of working this thing. A law on the books is a law. And I cannot, as a licensed attorney, run the risk of going across the street and being arrested for bringing a beach umbrella. They arrested somebody for drinking coffee on their beach 15 years ago. I can't have that, and I will not have it. So thank you, everybody, for your support. I will moderate any discussions on this, but I'm no longer going to participate in any of them. So I think Jody was next, and then Fred Riley.
Yeah, I was just going to point out what you said, Mayor Manzo, is that we did have, conversation. They shot down the even thought of talking, but I think in closing on that meeting the other night was that, I suggested a task force, and Bel Air Shores mayor was receptive to that. And I'm saying a task force, so we have representative from Bel Air Beach and representative from Bel Air Shores. Clearly all of us as council members cannot, but maybe one person can, along with Lynn, go meet with them and try to come up with some solutions to mitigate this. But clearly the council members were not interested in a second thought of not passing it. They were clear that they didn't want umbrellas. I did walk the beach from our very far north end of Bel Air Beach all the way down to Indian Rocks Beach the other day. And what I noticed was there are 2 houses that everyone has vegetation behind their house. So you clearly cannot set up an umbrella right behind someone's house. It's not likely that you can get up into their seawalls and things like that. There are 2 houses adjacent to accesses that the ground cover is cleared out. They're clearly keeping the sea oats off of that ground. And I found that interesting. And I bet those are the 2 that are complaining most about people being in their backyard, because they've cleared out the sea oats. They're not allowing them to grow, which I would think would be, an issue. I would think you would want those sea oats in that ground cover to stabilize the sand, but, and I I'm just making an observation. I have, I don't know that I have a solution for that. I'm just making an observation. So that's it, really. And Lynn, just please follow up on the task force and try to get that set up.
Yes, that's my call into Mayor Schmidt. I know he was out of town, and I don't know if he's back, but I did talk to, as I said, one of the commissioners, Commissioner Bloom, and in the conversation, I think I felt like his thought process had changed a little bit, but he did share with me that there are a lot of residents over there, mainly in the first through, I'll say, First Street, maybe up to Second or Third, that are just getting hammered by, unfortunately, people from Indian Rocks Beach. And, you know, I don't know what that solution is. There's nothing we can do about that. You know, I think we can find a solution for our residents, but what happens down there, and that could be part of the hard struggle, because 3 of their council members are from that section of the beach. I did find that out. So, and I know there's a couple residents down there because they've called me complaining about, you know, somebody setting a tent up in front of their, or sitting on their seawall or what have you.
Yeah,
Riley?
I happen to know there's a an issue with a young family that, you know, they are on the internet all the time and they're setting up trampolines in the waterway down near that First. And I could see where that's a problem. And there's a lot of kids on the internet watching what's going on. So yeah, I can see, but that's not something, that's Indian Rock's problem, not ours.
Right.
Council, Fred Riley?
I just wanted to respond quickly.
He's muted.
We can't hear Fred.
Fred?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
better.
Okay. I wanted to respond to the point that Dr. Aki raised. I looked up Bel Air Shores charter, and the language of their charter establishes their jurisdiction, and it includes, it says, into the waters of the Gulf of Mexico to the limit of the jurisdiction of the state of Florida. So it's very similar to what is the jurisdictional line in the city of Bel Air Beach. So, you know, it goes out into the water. So they're really, their ordinances apply out into the Gulf.
Thank you. Glenn Gunn?
We still haven't addressed Robin's issue here, and I think it's an important one, is how do we get the word out there? What is the truth and what isn't the truth? Maybe it's just a short postcard or whatever, but just some frequently asked questions as to, can I take an umbrella on? Has the ordinance changed? No, it has not. And just a couple simple statements to give people an idea of what the status of this thing is. And yeah, hey, we're still in discussions. It's not a done deal yet. Hey, some residents are bringing legal action in this thing, but I think, how are we going to do this? When are we going to do it? And who's got it for action?
Well, I think we can post something to the website, and we could put a blurb out in a mini city news that just says, you know, because the group that I met with last week, you know, they have the misunderstanding of where the jurisdiction is. They talk about the Supreme Court and who owns the sand, and, you know, maybe if we just put some question and answers to that and got that out to the residents. They were expecting more people to come, but unfortunately only a few came, and I explained that to them individually as a group. So maybe we should do that and put something on the website.
I have Marv Beam next, and then Dave Gaddis.
Lynn, do we have anything official, a letter from Bel Air Shores with any signature from the mayor or the clerk or whatever that has passed
The ordinance?
the ordinance?
I'd have to go onto their website, but you know, the ordinance I know passed.
Ordinance passed in June
Yes,
unanimously, 5-0.
yes, yes.
All right,
Yeah.
maybe a copy of that along with the questions and answers. You
Yeah, I have a
so it's
copy.
just to say it's an official deal, there's no question. It's
Yeah.
official.
I have a copy of it. The copy I have, I don't have a signed copy, but I do have a copy of what the ordinance says.
Okay.
Dave Gaddis and then Robin Aki. And I think Jody was next too. So, no, okay, Dave Gaddis, Robin Aki.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Bel Air Beach website, and we do have under residents, we have the second item is Bel Air Shore beach boundaries.
Right.
That doesn't really help. All that is okay, where are they at? I would like that section to actually be changed to Bel Air Shore beach information, or just beach information in general, and the important parts within that area pertaining to what's going on with Bel Air Shores Beach. I would like a link right there on the homepage so that everyone, they don't have to go digging for this. If they make it to our homepage, that information is available. Click here to find out what's going on. And I think that would be more than enough to give people the information that they're looking for.
We can do that. Yeah, that map's just, we created that map to show where the private property was. That's what that was for.
Robin Aki?
Yeah, no, I agree with Dave. I like the idea on the homepage. That way people don't have to dig. And we need to also, when you add those little blurbs of frequently asked questions, you need to address the beach accesses, because people think that, oh, that's a Bel Air Beach, so that sans Bel Air Beach. We need to clarify that as of now, that also means no umbrellas. Just to clarify that, that's another confusion. And then I was also gonna say, maybe once you have that on the website, maybe someone, obviously none of us, but somebody can go onto Nextdoor and say, refer to the website for questions, because I feel like Nextdoor is blown up with he said, she said, and all the misinformation, that maybe if someone could just post, hey, updated information guidelines, frequently asked questions, please see the official website for your answers. I think that would help solve a lot of these questions and provide some clarification. That's
Yeah,
it.
maybe I can ask Martha to do that.
Yeah,
Ask
whoever.
her.
It's just not us, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, because we don't want to do it.
Any other, well, this was, Lynn, this was your topic, but we've kind of all taken it over because there's some good information here. But Lynn, do you have any other information? But before we close this out, does anybody else on council have anything else on the beach situation? And then we'll give it back to Lynn if he has any other comments in his segment. Lynn, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, I've shared everything to this point, and we'll get something put up in the next day or so on the website.
Thank you. Okay, so now we move to City Clerk, Patty Gentry.
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Patty, I have something for you, and relax. It's actually, I think, good, but I need to bring this to council's attention. I got a phone call on my city telephone, and it was a complaint about Patty Gentry. I don't think I've ever gotten a complaint about Patty Gentry, okay? So I was pretty interested in hearing what the person said. What followed was 2 minutes of just vile hate speech.
Yes.
Vile hate speech, okay? And I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to give it to Patty to make it a public record. It is disgusting. I will not tolerate it. It's personally insulting to me, to my heritage, and I don't even know if it was directed at me, but it was disgusting. So I will not call the person back, okay? And I probably am going to turn it over to the sheriff. It is just unacceptable behavior. I can't believe that this is the type of stuff that people would even utter out of their mouth. Absolutely unacceptable. Patty, if you hung up on this person and they were talking to you like this, I'm 100% behind you. okay? Because I would have never listened to this person. Robin Aki?
Is there any way that we can hear this call so we know what's the exact, what happened? So we're all.
Yes, I'm going to give it to Patty. I'm going to try. What I have to do is, it's on my telephone, so I'm going to actually, I think I'm going to re-record it off of my iPhone, and then I can just send it via email. So I'll send it to Patty. And if you want, Patty, I mean, you got my permission. It's public record. I'm going to make it a public record. Let's put it out. Can you get it? Can you get that quickly? I'm talking to June. She's sitting in here. If she can pull it up, I'll play it for you and you could hear it and we'll put it right on the record. I'll still forward a copy of it. Go ahead. If you can get it, go ahead. I'll wait. We'll come back. We'll circle back to it. Okay, we'll circle back to it. I'll let everybody hear this. Go ahead. Robin Aki, then Mark.
I just want to say, Patty's amazing. Patty, we all love you. We think you're doing a great job. So I'm sorry if somebody was mean to you, but that was obviously undeserved.
They were mean to me.
Oh,
I don't know how mean they were to
you
her.
said it was Patty. Well, I'm sorry. You too.
I don't know how mean they were to Patty. I could only imagine poor Patty, but I was wow.
No, I'm sorry. I thought they were talking about Patty. I was like, how dare you?
It was me.
Well, in that case, that's fine. No, I'm kidding. That's not.
Mayor.
Yes.
I don't think we should even hear this, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
That's between you, Patty, and the Sheriff's Department. I don't think we need to hear it.
I'm going to give it to Patty tomorrow. If you want to hear it, then ask for it, okay?
Mayor Manzo,
Yes.
can I make a comment when you're finished?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm finished. Yes.
Okay. Just that this person has a history with the sheriff's office and with the city. And so when she started speaking and using, as you heard, just profane language, I advised her. I said, ma'am, you know, if you continue using profanity, I'm not able to continue this discussion. And then she had a few other things to say. And yes, that's when I hung up.
Patty, I'm going to stand behind you 100% if this is the way you were treated. I would not have tolerated this. I will not return. I will return every call. I return every call ever as mayor, okay? I've never missed returning a call. I will not return this call. That's how horrible the language is. You cannot call these names to me and expect me to help you out. I'm just not going to do it, okay? It's horrible language. It's ethnic slurs, and I'm not going to tolerate it, okay? It's that simple. So,
Mayor, just to give you, everyone in City Hall has gotten that phone call or email or from this individual. And it's evidently been going on for long before my time here, I can tell you that. And, you know, I know the individual was, I believe Baker acted at one time, and it's probably getting close to that point again because it's gotten out of hand. And
well, Lynn, to the extent that anyone at headquarters had to endure this again, I'm just going to let you know, I mean, you know, I'm one vote on council, but I think I understand the council here, and I don't think they will tolerate this for anybody. I will support anybody at headquarters who terminates a conversation like this. This is not something you have to endure. They can disagree with you. Lord knows I disagree sometimes with you, Mr. Reeves, and with other people, but this is not the way we do it, okay? This goes to a whole different level. No one should have to endure this kind of nonsense. It's hate speech, and it's unacceptable. So you, as far as I'm concerned, you can hang up. You don't have to tolerate it. It's that simple. Mark Beam, you're next.
Yes, again, I said I don't think anybody needs to hear it, and I would suggest letting the city attorney and the sheriff's department and city manager handle this.
Will do. That's fine. Unless council wants to. That doesn't. Patty will have it. I'll try and get it to you tomorrow. I have a busy day, but by Wednesday, Patty, you will have it. And my apologies that you had to go through this from one of our citizens.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying they were insulting Patty, but either way, no one should be insulted.
No, they complained about Patty. They said Patty hung up, and then they proceed to just rip it. I mean, she didn't direct it to me, but I don't know who she thought she was talking to, because it was all about me and my Italian heritage, and it's just unacceptable. It's just totally unacceptable. It's a major insult. So not my heritage, what she said about it. So, no go. Okay. Thank you, council. And thank you for Patty and Lynn, and to anybody else at City Hall. You don't have to tolerate this garbage. Okay. City council, I think we're up to city council comments if we had no other comments for the clerk. It's an even month, so we start with Robin Aki and we go alphabetically.
No, I think I addressed all my issues and they're coming up again on the work session. So for now, I'm good. And again, Patty, you rock. So just want to remind you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marv Beam?
No, I think I've addressed everything. And again, Patty, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. And please, once you get a copy of it, I would confer with the attorney and make a decision on what you guys want to do.
Thank
That's it.
you.
Dave Gaddis?
Nothing at this time.
Jody Shirley?
Nothing further.
Rita Swope?
Yes, I want to state for the record that it is important that this council works together. With that being said, I feel it's necessary to set the record straight. I believe that it's completely unprofessional for any member of council to make false accusations and threats towards anyone, especially other members of the council. During the July 6th City Council meeting, there was a lengthy discussion regarding an alleged conversation that I was accused of having with the 6th Judicial Circuit Court Judge, Patrice Moore, on March 18th. Although I called point of order and adamantly denied having such discussions, I was still threatened. I felt threatened with removal and the accusations continued. I felt it was necessary to reach out to the Honorable Patrice Moore and ask her for clarification since these accusations were very public and very heated. I sent a registered letter to the judge on July 20th. I included in the letter a link to the July 6th City Council meeting video. After receipt of my letter, the judge reached out to me and we had a phone conversation on July 23rd at 1:49 p.m. During that call, she assured me that she had watched the segments of the video mentioned in my letter and that no such conversation took place. She also assured me she did not have a conversation with Mayor Manzo and Ms. Vanscoy regarding me or any conversation regarding a sunshine law violation after that meeting. She even assured me that any issue would have been handled on a one-to-one basis to clear the air, and most certainly would not have ever been discussed with another colleague. Towards the end of our conversation, I asked the judge to send me something in writing so that I could have it for my records. She volunteered to do just that and suggested she also copy Mr. Manzo, and I agreed. On July 23rd at 2:32 p.m., she sent an email. I will not read her email in entirety, nor my letter to her, as this has been sent to Patty Gentry to retain as a public record. But I will quote a statement made by the Honorable Patrice Moore in her email response. I have no knowledge of having any conversations with you or anyone else about the sunshine law on that evening, end quote. She also mentioned she was not sure why such a conversation would have come up in the council meeting on July 6th. As I previously stated, all correspondence between Judge Moore and I have been sent to Patty Gentry to retain as a public record. Anyone that would like to request a copy of this record, please feel free to do so. These accusations were made in a public meeting and were completely false, and yet the council and the public were intentionally led to believe that I somehow violated laws, I violated my oath of office, and that I was unethical and even subject to recall. In doing the fact check on this specific incident, it makes one question everything that has ever been said by this member. As a city council member, I'm not only concerned about the guidance that this council and the residents of Bel Air Beach have been receiving, but the validity of the information presented. As a member of this council, we are not always going to agree on things, but for a member to blatantly try to discredit another member with total disregard for the truth should not be tolerated. Just as the call regarding Patty Gentry and to the mayor, that should not be tolerated. I'm just wanting to state for the record that we're all supposed to work together, but yet this occurred on July 6th and it was against me, and I took it very, very personally. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew how I felt, as well as to clear the record on the fact that I never had a conversation with Judge Moore. Thank you.
I'm going to respond to that, and I'm not going to drag Judge Moore into this any more than she's had to be. I received this letter. Everything I say, I stand by. Judge Moore said she did not recall it. June Van Scoy recalls it with particularity. And June has asked me to arrange a meeting with the judge. You know, I haven't reached out to Judge Moore because I just feel that we've embarrassed ourselves as a city enough before her. I stand by everything I say because it was told to me by June. She did not lie, and she will swear under oath if necessary. But I'll be darned if I'm going to have the judge hold a hearing. You can be sure that this judge will probably never want to come to anyone's swearing in after this embarrassment. I stand by what I said. And Councilmember Swope, how dare you conflate me telling you that you were subject to recall? I did not say that for that. I said you were subject to removal. And the reason was because you 3 times I asked you to stop. You were debating a point of order. It is against Robert's rules. I'm sorry if you still don't understand it, but it's against the rules. It is not debatable, nor can you interrupt me while I'm talking. I didn't interrupt you, and I said it, and I said it 3 times. And the new policy we have, thanks to Fred Riley, is that we give 3 warnings, and then I stop, and then we call a timeout, and then we discuss removing that person. That's what happened with Paul Marino. That's what happened with some people in these groups sometimes in the audience. We're going to give warnings. You didn't stop. It had nothing to do with recall. I said you were subject to recall for what you did to June Van Scoy, getting along as a city, removing your parks manager for retaliation. She's going to handle that. Don't you worry. That's why I said you were subject to recall. It was a totally different incident. I'm restating what June said to me. I don't know. I'm going to call Judge Moore because I've been extremely busy and I've been away. But when I have a chance, I'm going to call her. And I'm going to give her the opportunity to speak with June, and maybe that will refresh her recollection. I don't believe June made this up. And I would never say something that's not true in a council session. And I would never say something that's not true against a judge, mainly because it's unethical as a lawyer. So this is what was passed on to me, and I restated it. And that's where it came from. We heard it that night. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, June said that Jody Shirley was a witness to this. I'm not going to hold a hearing tonight. That's not what the point of this is. Okay? If it happened, it was very unprofessional. It doesn't subject you to any recall. It just puts a black eye on our city. It's not the first time that our city will have a black eye. It won't be the last time, I'm sure. That's why I brought it up. As for points of order and as for debate, I listened to every word in your removal about June Van Scoy. And you proceeded to cut me off, and somebody else tried to call the question in the middle of my thing. It's inappropriate. It's against the rules. And quite frankly, I'm not going to tolerate it. I don't do it to you. I had to listen. I didn't say a word. You don't call a point of order because you don't like what someone's saying. If you break the rules or you personally attack, a point of order is appropriate. When you state what you believe to be a fact, which is exactly what I said, a point of order is not appropriate. I was not personally attacking you. I said that there was a lack of understanding of the Sunshine Law. It's over with as far as I'm concerned. I appear before Judge Moore, and understand, when you reach out to her, you're interfering with my business. So tread very carefully. Tread very carefully. I'm a contract employee by the state of Florida who appears before her. You're interfering with a contractual relationship. Go ask your friends what that means. So stop, please. Let's not make this any worse and more worse than it has to be. I believe if Councilmember Swope, if you have anything else, then I'm going to move on to Glenn Gunn. I believe he's next. Glenn Gunn?
Yeah, just to, I've had some sidebar meetings with Lynn Reeves with regards to this beach ordinance thing. And he's got some follow-on information that maybe, well, I don't think he alluded to it here. The basic conclusion is obviously this thing is kind of tapering off a little bit. Obviously, we had this big bonfire immediately after the COVID thing kind of was relaxed and people started going to the beaches. That's when this whole shade ordinance thing came about. The situation was aggravated, but it seems to be tapering off. and City Manager Reeves can probably expand on this a little bit. There haven't been any enforcement actions on this thing recently, right? And we're still waiting to get some readout on this thing. There's some conversation going on between Lynn Reeves and members of their council about possibly relaxing the ordinance within the confines of our beach access. Can you expand on that a little, Lynn?
Yeah, that's what I would, that's kind of where I'm focusing, because in speaking to several of the residents, their main concern was they were being told they can't go here and can't go there. So I did have that conversation with Commissioner Bloom, and it was a good conversation, and I'm going to have that conversation with the mayor also. And my thought is try to talk to their commissioners individually and just get some feedback from them. And it's kind of two-way street to some degree, so that's where we're at right now.
I've got one.
Sure, go ahead, Glenn. It's you. You have the floor.
One last item here. This meeting had so much promise here before we started down this last thread. Yeah, some of this stuff's going on is an embarrassment, and I don't like being included in this. We are an embarrassment to the city. I would suggest that there are other avenues of dealing with this stuff besides the innuendo, the finger pointing and stuff like that. There are provisions for ethics within this state and dealing with some of this stuff. And if you feel that strongly about some of this stuff, rather than embroiling the entire council, embroiling the entire city and the residents and everything else in this stuff, take some action. Go to the city ethics people and make a report and let some outside individual come in and look into this situation. But I'm just kind of getting tired of this round and round stuff. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Thank you very much.
Marv, I can't come back to you. We're in the stuff. Do you have something quick? This is not open discussion. We're going through the individuals, but go ahead, real fast.
All right. The only thing I have to say is, Lynn, with 18th Street comment you got from that gentleman, you're going to just hold to the list as to when it's going to be repaired rather than move it around.
Yeah. If I look at, and I think all of you saw the picture, if I look at the pictures and I go take pictures of other streets at different times, that's a minimalistic amount of water as opposed to 12th and 13th Street when it's really bad.
I just don't want you to take any action.
No, we're going to, as part of the stormwater fee, we have to take out a small loan for the validation. And what my proposal was to do is go ahead and buy the check valves, and if we can get those installed in a cost-effective way, that could alleviate part of that, and then we'll do the project on the timeline that we've got scheduled.
Okay, we're on council comments, so let's stick with it and let's wrap it up. Are you finished, Vice Mayor? Okay, he has a thumbs up. Okay, so I have the floor. I'm stunned that Glenn Gunn would suggest ethics. Wow. We just jumped from the fire into the fire pan. You want to go down that road? Bring it on. Every one of you will be subject to ethics charges. And by the way, those are taxable legal costs back to the person who makes the false ethics charge. How do I know? Because Jules Chandler made an ethics complaint before the ink was dry on my certification. Jules Chandler's Rita Swope's best friend. You connect the dots, okay? I'm not going to play this game, and I'm not going to ethics on anybody. But if anybody goes on me, rest assured I have something probably on everyone on council and maybe 10 things on some of you. So don't go down that road and embarrass yourself or the city anymore. please. I'm asking you. I haven't done it, and I can. And I can go with former council members. But if you want to go down the road, let's go. Now, speaking of the road, what some of you don't know is that protesters have now come to our beautiful city of Bel Air Beach. We have a gentleman who's standing out on the corner of 6th Street every morning, 8:30 in the morning for up to 2 hours, waving a sign that says support blue, as in the police. That's good. We all support the police. And we're getting about 100 to 200 cars honking their horns, violating the city and state ordinance. He's been asked to stop by code. He refuses to stop. Our city ordinances are pretty much inadequate to do anything about him individually. He wants to speak with the city attorney. He's probably making a nuisance, public nuisance and a private nuisance. He's a doctor. He's got 3 properties. And his primary property isn't even in this city. It's in Indian Rocks. So I don't know what to do other than to say it sounds like Times Square. It's not funny. It's not cute. No one would tolerate it if it was in front of their house. And we're going to have to address this as a city too. Unfortunately, our existing laws really doesn't stop someone from standing out with a sign and encouraging other people to respond. And they're responding with honking of car horns. You know, it's not lost on me that directly across the street from where he's protesting is council member, or they don't call him council member, council commissioner Tolbert from Bel Air Shore, the same one who voted to keep the Bel Air Beach people off the beach and not use umbrellas because he thinks that we don't know how to act properly. So I submit to you that we're probably playing right into his hand, okay? It's disgusting, it's unacceptable, it's illegal. He got a positive response when he called City Hall. And so obviously this is something now that we're gonna have to spend legal money, council time, and everything else to address because our existing ordinances don't do it. Cities are entitled to make reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on this stuff. Obviously, we cannot have a city where people are going through honking their horns at all hours of the day, disturbing the peace. It's disgusting. And add that to the fact that we can't use our beach, it's more disgusting. It's just the city quality of life, and then you could add the speeders, and then you could add the motorcyclists, and then you could add all the other stuff we've been complaining about, and little by little, the city is slipping. Premier city, huh? Okay, let's try and be one. So I bring it up to you, Fred Riley. I think we're gonna have to, I've spoken to you briefly about this in the past. I think it's going to have to get addressed. It's not getting any better. We have to obviously, you know, work within the parameters of the First Amendment, but the First Amendment gives the city some rights. People don't have to sit here and be tortured because this guy is getting response from every car that passes by on the road. Other than that, Mark Beam, go ahead. I'll call on you. Yeah, go ahead.
With this incident down there that you noticed, I haven't, but isn't that road and some of that property under county jurisdiction versus Bel Air Beach?
Yes.
Yeah, he's on the sidewalk. The sheriff doesn't want to enforce the law. Sheriff said, we're not going to enforce this. Even though it's against state law and even though it's against our city code. Sheriff doesn't want to enforce it. There's Fred Riley, I gave a case that actually was, it wasn't a published case, but it was a slip-up from Pinellas County where another city did enforce the law and it was upheld that you can't beep. So the individual himself isn't, our law, if you read it, he's probably not violating anything, but it's the response that he's getting. And obviously people aren't just beeping horns for no reason. They beep when he goes out, they stop when he goes home. So for an hour, now you say, oh, it's an hour. No, it's not an hour. It's an hour and a half, it's 2 hours, and you multiply it by 7 days. That's 14, 15 hours a week of listening to car horns. Anybody who thinks that's acceptable, I'd be more than happy to come outside your door and beat my horn for 15 hours and see what you think. It's disgusting. And it's being heard around the entire place. Some people don't want to complain. I've had complaints by people. They don't want to complain because, well, we've talked about how some things just don't get done, so they don't want to stick their neck out. So once again, the mayor has to stick his neck out. Code did try and talk to him. The sheriff thanked him for his time, thanked for his support, asked him that, and he told him, he said, you're not supporting us here. You're just making our jobs tougher. That was Danny Doherty, our code officer, but he's in full police uniform, and they went right back the next day and did it. So, you know, they're 78 years old. I mean, they're nice people, and I'm sure they mean well, but it's just disgusting. And you know, if this starts to go to other parts of the city, or we bring it to other parts of the city, it's not going to be much of a very nice city to live in. Fred Riley?
Yes.
You know, I don't know where we go with this. I wanted to let council know, again, you and I have spoken about this, but what do you, I mean, do we, you know, we can't have this go on week after week, and the police don't want to enforce the law. So what do we do?
Well, if the guy wants to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk to him, and I will do my level best to try and diffuse them and persuade them, although it sounds like other people attempted to do that, and that didn't get any traction. So if you want to consider changing the code, you can do that, although because it's a First Amendment, it's a, you know, there's parameters that are have to be considered about, as you indicated, reasonable time, place, and manner. And, you know, it's one of those things that's fraught with problems. I will clearly say that.
Yeah, it is fraught with problems, but so is the diminution of property values if you have, you know, Times Square outside your door. Okay,
I don't
it's a $2
disagree.
million house that he's in front of, and then he posts on the internet that, oh, the house is vacant. I know that owner. I'm going to be contacting him. I want to let him know what his neighbor's doing. Okay, letting him know that his house is vacant. I mean, that's just irresponsible. So, you know, again, I don't know what the solution is. I know reasonable time, place, and manner does not mean you can go on the same corner every day and do this. The city manager said, well, you can't move it someplace else. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to have to rotate. So everybody gets a sample of this. And maybe we can do something about it. I mean, this just can't, you know, you have a city ordinance and a state ordinance that the police refuse to enforce. But yet you're going to tell a guy that is playing a radio too loud he can't do it? Well, his radio is a lot softer than a car horn. So you can't selectively enforce. I've been harping on this for 1.5 years. So I don't want to see us get into a lawsuit. I don't want to see us get in problems, but we need to do something other than let this guy trash 3 blocks of the city. And I can't believe they're not hearing this at Bel Air Shore. They are. So.
Yeah, just city council, just to kind of give you a little more background on this. Danny did go talk to him. Unfortunately, what Danny told him to do was not really legal. He told him to go down to First Street. and realistically, you know, because of I guess their constitutional rights, he can't tell them, you can't do this. Unfortunately, they called here at City Hall and I said, you know, maybe you need to put a sign up that says, please don't honk, or something of that nature. Their signs just say support the blue. And, you know, unfortunately, people's theory of supporting the blue is to honk the horn, which is not a good thing either. They're usually out there about, I'd say 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
About 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So you know, that's a discussion, and you know, we've discussed the sign ordinance and people holding signs, and that's their, as I understand it, they're right. But you know, maybe if we go back and talk to them, I know that Mrs. Purcell,
yes,
called or supposedly, you know, I heard this secondhand. I didn't see it. Supposedly she put something on next door saying that City Hall said we can't do this anymore. And unfortunately, she took what Danny told her basically to move down the street to another place, which, you know, he shouldn't have told her that. He should have told her not to, you know, like I said to her, I said to her, you know, maybe you need a sign that says, please don't honk. You know, we're not telling you can't show your sign.
And the last thing the police want to do is start ticketing people that are trying to support them. But by the same token, as a citizen, we can't tolerate this anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what I'm going to say is this as a solution, if council is okay with this, I would like to speak with Lynn and Fred Riley and maybe see if there's a way that, I like Fred, they wanted to speak with you. Maybe, you're a great broker of peace. Maybe you can try. I think they mean well. I don't think they're out to hurt their neighbors. They live here. They live on 6th Street. I don't think they're trying to get everyone annoyed. So I think they really mean well. Maybe we can do that. I mean, if they want to meet with the sheriff or one of the liaisons, maybe we can get them connected with the right people so that they can really work to support the police in a productive way. Because beeping a horn on 6th Street isn't getting any support to anybody. You're just violating the law. And I know they're not beeping it, but they're causing it. They're making it happen. So I'll be happy to work with you on it, because I just, it's becoming unbearable. And I know the neighbors are going to get together here, and you know what's coming next. Go ask Bella Shore tomorrow what's coming next. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this. Okay. I really would like them to just stop, and they could hand out leaflets and brochures and go on websites, and they could come and I'll do a resolution. I'll put a resolution forward on council to support the police. But, disturbing the peace of the neighborhood in any neighborhood for any cause, because this time it's the police. Next time it may be a cause that we all may be not believing in so strongly. So, you don't get to pick the cause. Okay. And I'm afraid, these police protests sometimes invite counter protesters, which also gets a potential of danger in the city. So I'm looking out for the city above myself, but it does affect me, and it does affect the neighborhood, and it affects the whole city if this continues, because that thing could be moved any place. We'll go hold a Trump flag in front of somebody's house. We'll see what happens. You'll have horns all day long. It's unacceptable. That work for you, Lyd and Fred?
Yeah, we'll reach out to Mrs. Purcell.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't have anything else other than to say there's an election on the 18th. It's a primary election. Please, everybody, get everybody out, go vote for the person of your choice, and make your voices heard.
Oh, and if you have anything else to go on the agenda for the work session, please get it to us by the 11th of August.
And one last reminder for anybody who might be listening, if you haven't filled out your census form, please fill out the census. That's it. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you on the 17th, right?
Yeah, Mayor,
17th.
we have some things for you to sign.
Okay.
Are you available tomorrow or?
Very busy day for me. I actually have several things going on.
How about Wednesday?
Wednesday's great. Yeah. Maybe you can, I'll Wednesday morning, like around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that'll work. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, everybody, stay healthy and safe.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.